All right, I've got 3 simple, realistic routines that will help you stop overthinking and play more free. Now, whether we are using these in the morning, from school, pre-game, in-game, practice, you name it. This is going to be short, it's going to be simple, it's going to be actionable. My goal by the end of this is that after the end of this episode, you have at least one routine, simple one, that you can start using today, whether it's as the athlete, the parent, or the coach, parenting and coaching the athlete. These 3 frameworks are simple. Now, if you're new here, my name's Gabe Rummel, mental performance coach, founder of The Athlete's Health, where it's basically a mental gym, because our creator of our Phrenomic gym, that's just like a mental gym with mental exercises, mental reps that you put in at practice, at games, to ultimately, and at any point of your day, to perform the best that you can at games in those high level performances. Now, the Mental Performance Playbook here is just a way to drop these exercises to the masses, up to you to implement them. That's what separates this from the businesses. We actually make sure that they are being implemented and used and tailored specifically to you. Now, all these we have used with athletes before, so ideally you can take them and use them at least some way, shape, or form. Let's dive into these now. Bookend your day is exercise 1. So this is your morning and night routine, the bookend, beginning to end. I recently learned about that term, so it was fun. I wanted to use it in here. Now, I want us to think about the athlete who's going to wake up and they just start scrolling on their phone, and then they're rushing out the door the next thing they know. They're going to bed stressed. They're wondering why they feel kind of mentally scrambled, like an egg is being scrambled up there. And especially on game day, there's no anchors there. There's no reset points. It's just chaos going around and around and around and around and around. But if you or if we repeated the same just 2 to 3 tiny actions every morning and every night, how much calmer do you think your mind would feel before you go to school, or before you go to practice, or before you have that big game? So I got some examples here, just some broad ones that I and a lot of athletes that we work with use, and that's how all these exercises are going to go. So I want you to pick 2 or 3 of these actions for the morning. Now, usually you're coming up with them yourself, so use these as an idea bank, like broad. You can see these on the internet all the time. That's why I'm using these, because people should be aware of them. Because I don't know exactly what you're doing at home in the mornings. So ideally, you can use one of these, but drink some water. Take a couple big breaths while you're looking at yourselves in the mirror, or have one sentence, if you want to call it intention or plan for the day. For example, what a lot of our athletes use is our G exercise, where we're doing it in the morning and night, which is given, great, grown. So how have you, or how will you give for the day to someone? Got to give out. How will you grow for the day? That's third G. What will you do great for the day? Is that third or second G? And then at the PM, it's how did you give today? How did you do something great today? And how did you grow for the day? And you can use those at night. Now, if you want to use something else at night, maybe it's a routine of putting the phone away at a certain time. Maybe it's a reflection one of I want something, or tomorrow I will. And you can spin these out. We can figure out exactly what one we want it to be for you. And lastly, just make sure that we're making these if-then routines. They're not rigid rules, right? It's not, if I wake up, then I drink water and take 3 breaths. If I go to bed, then I write my win and my reset line. Like it's the bar does not have to be low, and it does not have to be perfect either. The bar is just kind of right in the middle. The goal is to make it repeatable. It doesn't have to be impressive. You're not bragging about this. These are just simple routine to do morning and night to unlock your game plan. Because if we can have these pre-performance routines, and I would argue every day, going to school or going to work or going to a job, whatever it is, having these pre-performance routines, that's a performance. It helps show, like studies have shown that athletes narrow their focus, and then they're reducing the chances of choking, because they're giving the brain, they're giving their body a sense of familiarity. It's a script that they can follow under the stress, and it's not something they have to think about too much. helps us handle the pressure, focus attention, helps us reduce the distractions. So then our overall analysis and choking under pressure is very, very condensed. Now, exercise too. Before we get into that, I also want to just drop this little piece in here, little life update. If you've been following me or the TAH, we're moving offices, moving places. That's why there's nothing crazy on the wall behind me, why it's not the perfect setup here, but we had to ship this out. I went last week with showing a podcast that I was a guest of, an episode that I was a guest on, and didn't even drop it on the Mental Performance Playbook. So I had to make sure we got this out, even if the setup isn't great. Hopefully, like we said at the start, you can use at least one of these exercises, one of these routine exercises, these realistic ones, and implement it in your game day, your overall day. So let's get to exercise number 2. This is that school switch from student mode to athlete mode, because it's a big difference. A lot of athletes are going to walk straight from a math test, from a reading class, and still kind of thinking about the questions in their head. Nah, we need to separate these out. Their body, when they're doing that, may be at the field, on the court, in the track, on the turf, but the brain is still in the classroom. And now we're going to be lagging behind. We're going to be dogging. We're not going to be fully present like we need to be. So if we instead could have 60, 90, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, you name it, a little time to tell our brain, all right, school's done. It's time to be the athlete now. It's time to go play our game. What would happen? What difference would we make? And that's what we're going to be working on here. That's why we're having these steps. 3 steps here, take what you need, take what you want to do, but create a bell to field cue. And this might be an action. This might be a piece of music. So for instance, maybe it's when you hear that bell, you're going to know, all right, I'm putting my books in my bag, my computer in my bag. Now I'm separating myself, zipping up school and moving on. Maybe we're going to have a breath of that. Maybe we're going to have a phrase that we're going to say, new game, new focus, whatever the case is. A lot of athletes that we work with are going to have a song that they're going to listen to separate it. Like, all right, school's done. Time to go perform at practice. Time to go put in the work here. If you need a simple body reset, a lot of times maybe they're going to roll the shoulders, get hyped up, stand up nice and tall, get a little neck stretch and get them prepared, crack the fingers, shake out the arms, whatever's going to tell them, oh, get ready to go. We're about to rock and roll. And lastly, check in with this. If you need a 3-part checklist, and if you need to make sure that you're fully charged, because now you're telling the nervous system, you're telling the body, we are switching gears, get ready to go. We're not sitting in a chair any longer. We can check it. Maybe it's something that we are grateful for, something that did actually work pretty well at the day. Maybe you were using some of these mental exercises throughout the school, which hopefully you were. But maybe you got something in the day that you were grateful for, maybe something that you actually want to bring to practice. Maybe you had some good communication for the day. Your effort was there in class, in schools, or the energy was there. You name it. I mean, it can go on and on. But also, if you want to put on a checklist with this, is something that you're leaving behind. All right, I'm leaving behind that drama that was happening at lunch. Do not need that to be here at all. No, thank you. Now, this comes from this big word of implementation intention. Now, there's a lot of research behind it, but all that basically means, and we've covered this briefly in the previous part of this episode, is if X happens, then I do I. And we were talking about if then statements of like being super, super rigid in our routines, and we don't have to keep it like that. But this is just showing us that when people plan exactly where, when, how they're going to do a behavior, it becomes way more automatic. It's way less mentally draining. And that's what we want to take out of this here with this plan of this school switch for our exercise number 2 of making sure we got student mode and athlete mode. Having these if thens, if X happens, then I do Y, this implementation intention. Okay, it's going to turn like all those little actions that we have to do to make it happen that you're not even thinking about, like now you're going to turn somewhere else, or you got to get to the locker room and get ready there. But it turns them into habits. And if we can specifically do the mental exercise pieces that get us locked in and ready to go, these routines, then it's going to make us way more automatic, way less dependent on any motivation or any willpower or any times that we need to be in the moment and try to get in the moment. No, all of these will put us right there. All right, last one here. And, I don't even say this one either, but I think we'll even have a new haircut next time we get on this camera. I know, it's crazy, right? A lot of changes here, a lot of things changing up, a lot of movement going into 2026. So we'll catch you there. But I got one more thing to say at the end of this episode, so stick to it. And let's get this last exercise in, because this is the game day autopilot. Pre-games, in games, if you want to call practice a game. This is what we are covering here, and this is what I want to make sure you take home. Because, a lot of athletes think that they're overthinking in a game. So they need, and this because it's something I've been seeing now, that they need more mental tricks. They need more exercises. And honestly, if we don't have any, yeah, we're going to need some. But we don't always need more. Sometimes less, but making sure it's more repeatable. It's maybe shorter. Those are the routines that we can keep and keep the mind busy with just a few simple cues and make it work, so the mind doesn't even have to think, but it's moving in the next place that we need it to be. Because if you only have 2 to 3 things that you can focus on, what would you want to focus on? I mean, you got the game that you're focusing on, and then you got the problem that you're focusing on. But we're trying to get the problem to a solution, and we need to make sure we have something that does that, and that is what we want to focus on. So I got some pre-game, just super small routines. I think just 2 to 3 steps in it, things to think about. But maybe you find one place on the field or court that you look at every time. Maybe find one piece of the game that fires us up, and that's what we're going to be thinking about before. Maybe you got a word that comes with that, like, all right, play and free, or trust your work. Lock it in. For instance, a routine for this would be Michael Jordan, would always lace his shoes the same exact way. And it wasn't a superstition thing, it was a routine thing. If they were already laced a different way or something that he wasn't used to, he'd send them back. He'd say, give me them how I like them. Now, if we're talking about in game here, it's going to be slightly different, but it's going to be the same thing. Maybe you're going to have a big breath, like these are after mistakes probably, or a whistle. Big exhale, like you're talking about all the way out, 10 plus seconds. Maybe you got an eyes up to a specific teammate, specific spot in the stadium. Maybe it's just a specific part that you're looking at, like the corner of the rim or the side of the scoreboard, just something that is locking you in with it. Maybe you got a short reset phrase. We got a physical reset with it. Maybe you're saying next play or new rep, you're saying next swing, whatever the case is, right? So for myself, for example, I was playing basketball this morning, and after I would have a couple bad plays or bad shots, you can't just sit around not do anything. It was usually a bad word was said, bad word was usually said, and then a clap of the hands, and then honestly, I'd say, all right, you got the next one, get the next one, and then I'd keep playing, and that's how it is. Now it's slightly different when I'm playing a pickup game versus an actual varsity or trying to have scouts watching a game. But if you know me at all, we're going to be pretty motivated to win and everything else. So the pressure is still there. But the goal of these, once again, just to recap this, of these game day autopilots, of these resets, of these routines for game day as our exercise 3, is to keep it flexible. It's not fragile. Okay, the order can change. Maybe your warming up is different or you're not in the same spot. The words can change, but the principles stay the same. For instance, maybe it's breath, focus place, a simple cue, whether that's a physical reset, you're saying something. Maybe it's, tying your shoe. That's a physical reset. Options are endless. We've talked about these on past episodes. Please reach out if you have any questions on them. I would love to help you out on it. But the point is, keep it flexible. Make sure that if one thing doesn't happen, then you're not just totally broken. That's something I used to do. That's something a lot of people I know still do, or that is the problem that they're trying to work on. And so that's what we want to make sure that we can fix and make sure that we don't have happen. That if one little change in that routine happens, that we're not total just blowing up like a volcano, right? But I want to make sure that we understand that these pre-performance routines are used like skills in everyday sports that we see, like serving in volleyball or free throws in basketball. They create that consistent mental and physical, but mental pattern that is going to protect us from any distractions, from that over analysis, from thinking about the last play when a lot of pressure is there. No, it keeps us in our zone. And so then ideally, we don't have any breakdowns. It reduces performance breakdowns in these, especially the high stress situations. So really make sure that we're keeping it flexible, that we're doing some type of pre-game micro routine and some type of in-game routine, which is usually a reset routine, so we can keep locked in and keep loading it forward. Cool. I'm going to summarize this and then give you one more little bit of information is that I want to make sure, the 3 parts that we're talking about. I want to keep this super, super simple. Looks like we're going a little over on time anyways. So make sure that you bookend your day. You got the morning, you got the night routine to calm the mind to get us ready and locked in. We got the school switch, 60 seconds, 90 seconds, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever, a song length, right? To separate student and athlete. So when that bell rings, you are ready to be full exploding on wherever you're trying to be playing that sport and explode. And then we got that game day autopilot, right? So whether it's pre-game or in-game, you got a reset, you got a routine that you can lean into and lean on instead of overthinking. So that is the instinct. And remember, right, all of these are meant to be flexible, not perfect. The goal is not have zero nerves and zero thoughts. It's to give your brain something simple and repeatable so you can compete with more freedom, because you are going to have nerves and you are going to have slots. But if we can have something that it can fall back on to catch it, that then boom, shoots it out of the cannon and catapults us to that next success, that is what these realistic routines are for. Now, if you want help actually building out these routines in your real life, your mornings, your school day, your practices at your games, that is exactly what we do at TAH in our Fornoic Gym, our mental training your mind just like your body. Get these reps and we can help you figure that out. Otherwise, 2 other things. Give this a 5-star review. Like it. I know we are in a not very good studio right now, but that is going to change real soon. And otherwise, contact me if you need anything. Gabe Rummel, founder of the Athlete's Health for Fornoic Gym. This is Mental Performance Playbook. And I will catch you next week with hopefully a new haircut, new studio, and a lot more updates on what's to come in 2026. Peace.